Now, while the market for organic foods continues to grow and more organic foods are now available, the price point can sometimes put people off. But exactly what are the benefits of organic food, and is it really worth the money?
Well, nutritional therapist Heather Leeson from Glenville Nutrition joins us to discuss this. Thank you so much for being here
Good
today.
morning, Heather.
Good morning.
Now, when it comes to organic food, I mean, a lot of people, it is true what I said in the introduction there, the price point does put some people off, because it is a hell of a lot more expensive, because it takes a lot more, it's a lot more labour intensive to produce, and that's
lower
what
yields,
you're getting.
the cost of certification, there are costs associated.
But realistically speaking, is there a massive difference in the nutrients that one would get from organic food as opposed to non-organic?
Well, there's two aspects. So the nutrient levels on one side, there's some new studies that have come out that show organic has more vitamin C, iron, magnesium, polyphenols that help our microbiome. Other studies, older studies, show there's not that much difference. So I think that is still to be confirmed. It's looking promising for organic, but it's still to be confirmed. But the real benefit is the fact that organic food has less chemicals. And I think that's why most people buy organic.
Yeah. And
the range has got better, isn't it?
Yeah.
As we said in the intro, there's more and more organic foods available. So if you want to go down that road, you can.
You can.
But it is that price point that puts people off,
Yeah,
Heather,
now,
isn't it?
it does depend, because some products are not that much more expensive. So I think if you're going to buy organic, have a look. Or if you're thinking about it, for food you buy all the time, you know, your pasta or your tomato or your bread or there's oats, there's really good options that are actually, when you look at the price, not much more expensive.
Right.
And it is worth it, I think, because of that chemical loads. There's a couple of issues there. First of all, the chemicals are tested individually in a lab. But of course, we're eating a cocktail every day. There was a study recently in the States that showed in the cord blood of babies, 300 different chemicals in newborn babies.
what now?
So they're
So
not
the
all,
umbilical cord?
Yeah, from mum. So they're not all from food, obviously,
Yeah.
but there is a massive chemical load. And the other thing is, of course, that like safety data changes. So chemicals come and chemicals go. And food additives that we were eating regularly 30 years ago are now banned because they're not considered safe anymore. And Roundup, for example, is a classic example. That's the pesticide that contains the chemical glyphosate, which was classified as a potential carcinogen or a probable carcinogen by the World Health Organization in 2015. Now, we're still using it in Ireland. Some countries have banned it. But, you know, that is in a lot of our food. And in studies in France, the levels have gone up 1,000% over the last 20 years. So we're kind of conducting a massive experiment on ourselves. And going organic, you're going to have less chemical exposure.
And I suppose with a lot of people, when they're buying their fruit and vegetables anyway, how much of it gets thrown in the bin because it goes off? And I mean, if you shop smart and shop better, and yes, more often, it will take more time, you might be able to make up the difference in price for a lot of produce.
You can. Shopping smart is key, and one way to get around that, and the availability actually, is an organic veg box is a great idea. There's a couple of really good suppliers, the Hopsack, Green Earth Organics. There's a few Irish suppliers, and then you get your box of veg delivered to you, and you're kind of using what's in season
And
as
that's
well.
very important as well for the nutrients.
And it's not that much more expensive. So all of the veg in that box, I bought it yesterday, and that was 30 quid, and that's our veg for the week. You know, that's a lot of food in there. So it is worth shopping, and I'm buying things like cabbage that are in season, not the more expensive stuff. There's
beets and everything in there.
Beets and everything.
Is there anything, Heather, that we should be looking at in terms of, not so much the packaging, but it's very easy just to slap the name organic on something? Like, you know, just so we know
there's
it
a lot
is
of
the real deal.
certification. There is a lot of certification that goes on behind that. It's one of the reasons they're a little bit more expensive.
Yes, of course,
So I think
are there universal signs that we should be looking out for?
Yeah, if you look for it, there's different associations in different countries, but if it says organic, it's been checked in most cases. Now, the other thing to bear in mind as well, though, is if you're not going to go for organic, try and get some Irish food, because we're so lucky for many reasons to live in Ireland. Our climate is so mild that we can grow loads of things outside. We use much less pesticides, much less intensively farmed than in other countries. So if you think of like strawberries, you see these videos from countries like America where the people harvesting are wearing full-on hazmat gear because of the chemicals used.
Strawberries are that size, but they're that size for a reason.
Exactly, and that's a world away from our lovely Wexford strawberries or, you know, our dairy products. So the cows are grazing here in Ireland on the fields for 10 months of the year. It's very different and much more nutritious as well.
And a smaller carbon footprint.
Yeah, exactly.
Can I ask you about various different types of organic vegetables? Let's say you can't afford to buy organic all the time. Are there certain, I know I've heard anecdotally that if you're buying tomatoes, better buy them organic if you can, because you eat the skin, and if you're buying organic, that's where the majority of the pesticides will be. So are there some fruits and veg you should really go for as opposed to others when it comes to the load of toxins in them?
There are some that are considered more heavily sprayed. There's a website called the Environmental Working Group in the States. It's very American data though, and that shows like the top 10 worst sprayed, if you like. Things like strawberries and peppers will always be on that. A little bit different in Ireland. Again, it depends where the food is from, but there are some that are very much sprayed. And in terms of the skin, of course, unfortunately, a lot of the nutrients are in the skin. And if you remove the skin, you're removing some of the chemicals, but also some of the nutrients. Now, there's a couple of things that you can do. Well, you can wash them, and that's really important anyway. So it helps to extend the shelf life, and you can buy, got it on the end there, this product called Veggie Wash. You can buy that in a health food store, and that removes a lot of the chemicals. But if you don't want to buy that because it's quite pricey, you can just make your own rinse. Fill the sink with water, put in 3 or 4 tablespoons of bicarb, so baking soda, mix it up and throw in your fruit and veg. Leave it to soak for 10 minutes, rinse it, let it dry. And you're removing some of the chemicals. Now, if they're in the fruit or veg, you're not removing them, but you're removing the surface ones. So you're definitely reducing your load.
I've never heard of that before. That's incredible.
Yeah, and it'll last longer because you're removing bacteria as well. So that's a really useful tip. These are all going into the sink when I get home today.
If someone was, had an idea about trying to get more organic food into their diet, would you recommend, is the veg box the best place to start, or is it the cupboard goods?
Look at what you're eating the most of and choose that, because that's going to be your biggest win. So if you porridge every day, have a look at organic oats, or if you eat apples and broccoli, or the kids will only eat apples, then try bringing some of those in and just try it. Some people will say it tastes much better. I think it does.
And you can also grow your own.
You can also grow your own.
Oh, I'd love to see you growing your own.
I do grow
a
little bit of veg at the back, like cabbages and
kale is super easy.
Beets. Yeah, it's really good.
Let's try that sometime.
And the taste is so much better.
It's gorgeous, isn't
it? Do you know what? It tastes a lot better as well when you actually have to put the work into making
it
yourself and do all the stuff anyway.
Heather, thank you for
Thanks
coming.
very much.
Appreciate your time.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Now, for more on what we've been discussing, check out glenvillenutrition.ie.